Alright folks, it is time for elves. Elves are my first, second, and third Warhammer Fantasy army. I love elves. I play Eldar in 40k, Elfdar. And the term Eldar, by the way, hails from J.R.R. Tolkien's work, which I do believe has some foundation in real mythology. So I'd love somebody to speak to that, the etymology of Eldar. And when I was in junior high school, I made my own role-playing game and called it ElfQuest. And I was a fan of the comic book series ElfQuest as well. So we're going to talk about three kinds of elves for Warhammer Fantasy. They are High Elves, Dark Elves, and Wood Elves. Now, all of these books are from previous editions. I do believe Wood Elves goes all the way back to 6th. And if I mistake not, High Elves is the most recent one, but it's been at least, I think, 4 years since High Elves got a new book. So let's go ahead and start with High Elves, because I believe they are probably the strongest of these three lists. Dark Elf players will be like, curse you, Ulthuan! So let's start with High Elves. We're not going to do hero choices first, so this is what the book looks like. It's got this guy on it, and it's got a bunch of history, and then it talks about actually the units and special rules and stuff like that. And then, of course, in the very back, you get the army list, which has kind of fallen out of this book, but hopefully I'll be able to do it right there. So let's start, like I said, when you make an army, you need a couple blocks of infantry, which is really a good place to start in 8th edition. Now, High Elves only have 3 different types of infantry. That's Archers, Spearmen, and Lothern Seaguard. Now, you should note that Lothern Seaguard don't have a kit by themselves. They come in the Isle of Blood kit. So let's talk about Isle of Blood. Here's what you get in Isle of Blood, if I'm remembering it right. I think you get 20 Seaguard. And by the way, if you're starting a High Elf army, get 2 copies of Isle of Blood. I believe they retail for about $100 US, and it's great. And then you get all the Skaven, so a friend of yours could start Skaven too. So you get 20 times Seaguard. I think you get 10 times. What are they? They're Sword Masters, and by the way, all these models are just gorgeous. And you get 5 times Illyrian Reavers. I don't know if you can read this, so then you get an Archmage, and you get a guy on a Griffin, which, by the way, that's kind of the one you're not going to use, probably, that and the Illyrian Reavers. The Archmage model in Isle of Blood kit is bellissimo. He's fantastic. I think he's one of the best mage sculpts for High Elves, and that really is saying something. By the way, I'm a fan of buying the special characters and just using them as regular guys. So there's that. So you can have Archers, Spearmen, or Lothern Seaguard. The Archers are 11 points a model. The Spearmen are... Oh, am I supposed to say this? Oh, the Archers are 20 minus 9 points per model. So anyway, the Spearmen are 2 points less than that. The Seaguard, for plus 1 point, you basically get an archer that has a spear and a shield, and that is absolutely fantastic. They have light armor. High Elves have something called Speed of Assyrian, which is always strikes first, which is great. Not as good in 8th, because now the ranks step forward, meaning you can cut down the first rank, but the other guys will still get to attack back. You can't peel off that first rank and get no attacks back on you. So I'm a fan of Seaguard, so I would actually start a High Elf army with at least 1 unit of Seaguard. You don't need as many because they are really super awesomely cool. I'd say 30 times Seaguard, SG. Ooh, same as my initials. So you can't go wrong with that. So there's a couple of, I guess, ways you could approach this. You could say, well, I'm going to get 2 big blocks of basic troops. I don't think that's the way to go, because the elites in the High Elf book are so good. That's the special troops. I'm using elite generally and not as a title. Are so good that really, but how are you going to fill that core? And that's really sad when an army list is like, well, you just filled my core requirements and and just be done. Move on to the good stuff. But it will cost about 400 points for your Sea Guard, your 30-man unit. And as you may recall, for a 2,500 point army, you need a core of at least 625 points. And by the way, there's no disadvantage to this. It's not like, oh, only core units can take objectives like in 40K. And by the way, that is an extreme dislike of mine in 40K, is they made these units have value just through caveat. Like, oh, by the way, we're going to make them good because only they can claim objectives. Groans. So it's like we're going to give you this meal, but we're going to pay you to eat it because it's terrible. Well, how about you just leave me alone? That was probably the worst example ever. Okay, so now you can do something. By the way, when you're buying Isle of Blood, there's a problem. Is that this unit, I do believe it is, you get 20 Sea Guard, has a command in it, which is great. But if you want to make another unit, or if you want to make a unit bigger, you got to kind of discard the command models, and that's what we ended up with. A bunch of people ordered like these big Lothern Sea Guard units, but the models are great, and it's so cheap it doesn't matter. It's almost like GW can't win. They put out these awesome things. These starter kits are just like such a great value, and it's like, man, you didn't get the command that right. Well, you know what? Can't please everybody. So to make our High Elf army, let's take a block of elites, and here's my recommendation. Let's look what's available. There's basically 3 special choices for infantry that are kind of, and there's like arguments over which one's better. You have Phoenix Guard, you have White Lions, and Sword Masters. Now, Sword Masters are kind of a great choice because they're in the Isle of Blood kit. So let's just bust out a block of. By the way, Sword Masters are one of the few ultra killy units that you will want to run extra. Forget the ranks, because they can just kill. One guy is going to get 1 combat resolution if he's just attacking. So the Sword Masters, and here's why. Because they have strength 5 with their great weapons. They always strike first, and they get 2 attacks each. They're insane. They can shred. They just shred through units. Don't let the Sword Masters touch you, because they are absolutely insane. So with command, I would actually do. I've heard. I should really have Josh in here for this. I've heard do them 7 wide, and with 2 units of whatever it is from Isle of Blood, you should have 20. So we'll put 20 times on our Sword Masters. Swords. Okay, so 20. So you will have kind of an incomplete rank there, but that's fine. You put in a character. If you're a little obsessive compulsive like me and like everything to be even, you can put in a character, and that'll make sense. And like all Warhammer armies, High Elves do great if you just put characters in the units. So, but the one that you really want. Oh, and by the way, that's 12 points each. Puts them. I'm just going to be daring and pepper that in, and so 20 of them would cost you 240 plus command. Puts you. Since we're using even numbers, let's say 250 points for this unit. So we're at 650. But we still haven't filled our core requirement, and I got to tell you, that's a toughie. So there's a couple different ways you could go about this that I've seen. One is you could take these extra 10 Sea Guard, but remember you have command models. Well, who cares? You can do conversions. You can like snip off the banners, banner bears banner and put a spear tip on it. You can work around it, or just use your imagination. Just kind of sprinkle them in there and be like, those are regular guys. Pay no attention to them. You do what's called a mage bunker. Had a client say, Sean, what's a bunker? It's a unit of guys that you buy. Just put your wizard with them so he doesn't get hurt when he gets ranged attacks against him. They affect the unit instead. Whereas if he's by himself, he just gets peppered with arrows. So you put the 10 Lothern Sea Guard, SG bunker, and you put your mage in there, and he will make that W for wizard for consistency. So there you go. So now we're up to 10 times whatever it is. We are actually only 100 points off from our core. So if you want to, you just do whatever. Get some spearmen or archers. A unit of archers will round you up to the required amount. And those archers are actually pretty good with wizards because they can be shooting too. But they usually need to move around a little bit better. And you know what? Quite frankly, I just think, because, and this is an important note, archers have longbows, which have 30-inch range. So for +1 point, you get Sea Guard, which have shields, and spears for only 1 point extra. Ah, but their bows are busted down to regular bows, only 24-inch range. But I don't know, it's a marginal difference. Personally, I'm a fan of Sea Guard, so we'll just do a unit of archers here, and that will be 100. This will be 120, not with the wizard. So overall, with some finagling, you do get your 625 out of that, or actually you need 650, don't you? Yeah, I don't have an answer for that. Just add a few more guys. So it is the core. That is kind of a downside of the High Elf army. Is the core, but if you have a 2,000 point army, well, you're set. You just need 2 boxes of whatever it is of Isle of Blood. So, and then you're set because you have 400 plus 120 gets you over your 500 point mark. Phoenix Guard. Oh, Phoenix Guard. But they have a role. They have a role which is defensive. By the way, a block of 50 Phoenix Guard, and the kit's expensive. There's regular kits that are about $2 a figure, right? Maybe $2.50. So like you buy a 10-man box because that's the format they're doing them in now. By the way, that's infinitely better. They used to be in blisters. You'd buy blisters and have 3 troopers in it. There weren't boxes of guys. Then they came out with pewter boxes with 10 in them, and then you'd buy a different box that was 10 guys with a command, right? Oh, and for a while there, they had it where you buy the boxes of 10, and the command came in a blister of 3 guys, and that was just weird. Like this unit has 23 guys in it for no apparent reason, and just the numbers were weird. But now they're selling them in plastic kits, and it has 10 guys. And if you need the command, it's in there, and if you don't need it, you don't need it. So kudos to Games Workshop for making a very user-friendly format for the models. But back to Phoenix Guard, White Lions, they are $4 a figure. It's like $39 for a box of 10. But the models are exquisite. They're just as good as other ranges that are charging you, $10 a figure, in my opinion. And the models, boom, they're so cool. Phoenix Guard, come on. So Phoenix Guard have a ward save, and they cause fear, which also means they're immune to fear. So that makes them a great defensive unit. If you really want to go, knuckle hammer time on somebody, bring 50. At that point cost, that'd be a 750 point unit, which is about, is a goodly 30% of your army, but it's unstoppable. Like, I played against this. I don't know if I showed you that bat. I don't know if it was a bat rep we televised, but I threw everything in my army against it, and there was just nothing I could do against it. They just killed everything in there. And they have halberds, so their strength 4. They have weapon skill 5. The sword masters do have kind of a leg up. They have weapon skill 6. Phoenix Guard switch, though, because sword masters have initiative 5. Phoenix Guard have initiative 6, which is fantastic. White Lions have strength base 4 with great weapons, but they only get 1 attack. So there's kind of like, and they had a woodsman rule where they could get through woods without penalty, but now in whatever edition, that's useless. It's not helpful. So White Lions have a cloak. By the way, they all cost the same. All 3 of these, and they're all on 1 page. That currently is like a fold out, apparently. So, like, my book is falling apart. Okay, so that's special. So, wow, it took me a long time to talk about this one thing. In fact, I'm just going to make this into one video. Okay, so this is your army. This is an army so far. Special, you got silver helms. I got to tell you, I'm having a hard time working my way around cavalry this edition. Dragon princes, though, they are hard hitters. They have 2 attacks, initiative 6, weapon skill 5. And the models, they have new plastic models out that are just insane. So so that's a toughie. What to include? Illyrian Reavers are fast cav. They you do get them in Isle of Blood. The models are fantastic, but right now I don't know what to do with fast cav. But they are troubleshooters, so and that is part of the formula. So let's get some Illyrians on here. Let's make it a unit of 10, which you can split into 2 units. By the way, I am a huge fan of making one guy a musician by putting like a horn on his waist. So that it's kind of hidden. It's there if you want to say, yeah, that's my musician. Or you can just put him in the background and be like, oh, he just that horn doesn't work. He just fancies himself the horn. Okay, so Illyrian Reavers, by the way, that would put you at 170 points. So 170, and let's go ahead and Shadow Warriors. Again, I don't know. I would just play it safe and not get them. Hey, let's get some Dragon Princes, just for fun. In fact, let's get a unit of 10 Dragon Princes up here. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, that Dragon P. Ha! I said Dragon P. Okay, so that is with command. Oh, and by the way, the champion of the unit can take up to 25 points of magic items. He's like a mini hero. And he also, they can take a magic banner. So these guys are awesome. With all that, they are easily, I'm going to say if you ramped them up with command and all that magic and banner, they can easily be 400 points. So all right, 400, 500, 1150, 1450 is approximately where we are right now. Well on our way. Let's get a couple of lion chariots. Those are 140 each. So we'll put those on the side. So, by the way, the kit for this, there's a High Elf chariot kit. That's 280. So where were we in 1450? So that's like 1750 so far. Oh, well we're already to 2,000 quite easily once you add in the heroes. Okay, so let us discuss then the chariot kit. That's where I was. It is, so you buy yourself a chariot kit and it makes a lion chariot or it makes a Tyrannok chariot. The Tyrannok chariot, the lion chariot, like this, I just got the paper out. The lion chariot, is a lot more, but I gotta tell you, it's so much more effective. The lions, they cause fear, and the lions get 2 attacks at strength 5. That is crazy, awesomely, amazingly awesome. And are they tougher? Yeah, they have a better armor save, but they are not, they have 4 wounds, 4 toughness, so there's that. And they're crewed by white lions, so yikes for that. But you will have some extra parts, and that is where you can possibly make a champ for your or make some extra sea guard guys. And you know, you kind of squeeze it out. They have some really cool horses in there. I don't know what you do for riders though. Okay, so what are the questions and answers that you have? Dragon princes are a giant question. What are you going to do about them? Especially if there's a hero in them. And 400 points, that is a big block of hurt coming up. When you saw Benton work me over with those dragon princes, I couldn't do anything about them. I just, I don't know. But then there's other times that they die. So it's kind of rock, paper, scissors. You gotta go, okay, this is a threat. What is the best thing answer to that threat? So the chariots are a question, but they can also be an answer. They can be outriders and kind of move up and be like, because they're strong enough where you are a little bit afraid of them. So big questions are bolt throwers. So there's 2 rare choices you can have. You can have gray eagles or bolt throwers. Now gray eagles took a hit in this edition because it used to be you can move your eagle up, angle him, and whoever charged would have to line up with the eagle. So let's say your enemy. Let's say this is the battle, and here's a unit. I believe this is called redirecting. So here's an evil unit of chaos warriors that you don't want to deal with. So you just swoop the eagle in, and you put the eagle like 7 inches in front of them, or however far, right? So when the chaos warriors moved in, they would have to kind of line up with the eagle, and if you angled them right, your other unit could swoop in and hit the Chaos Warriors in the flank, right? And the eagle would just, you know, retreat, rally, and then go do mischief elsewhere. But now, that's not the case. If the eagle flees, the Chaos Warriors can just be like, well, I'm going to charge these guys instead. But you still can, if I'm not mistaken, still can use that trick to prevent them from charging anything else. And if your other stuff is kind of farther away, you can make them fail a charge, basically. That if you just park a unit right in front of this unit, they have no choice. Well, they can stand still, or they can charge that unit, or you can, in which case, if you make it successfully away, they haven't moved, they didn't march 8 inches. But it's not as good. Warhammer Fantasy used to, excuse me, that tactic isn't as good. Warhammer Fantasy really did basically take away the whole redirect the charge thing. But correct me if I'm wrong. Please, tell me I'm wrong. So anyway, you can have a bolt thrower or giant eagles. Quite frankly, the giant eagles are a question. Giant eagle is going to attack your war machine. What shall you do? So they have to then deal with this flying creature, right? Toughness 4, 2 wounds, 2 attacks, strength 4. So it can give a crew a run for its money. That's probably a 60 to 70% chance of taking out a typical crew over time. That certainly prevent it from shooting for a few phases. 50 points for that. Now, bolt throwers now are they're 100 points. That back in days of yore, bolt throwers used to be 50 points, and they used to be 50 points, and you could take 2 per slot. So back when they only had rare slots, but now you just take 2. They're 100 points each, and they are still very much worth it. So I always get 2 bolt throwers. Oh wait, I went below my line. So I'll put a big old B here for BT for bolt throwers, and that is 200 points. So I'm right around 2,000, so I can easily get to 2,500 points with my heroes. This is almost like every single other army. Where are you going to want your heroes? You're going to want a hero in here. Well, and as you may recall, Josh runs it. He puts his BSB in the Swordmasters. Oh, and by the way, if you get a unit of Phoenix Guard, then there's no problem making up the points. In fact, if it weren't for financial considerations, I would say get a unit of Phoenix Guard here. But the question is, where's your, if that's your hammer, if that's your anvil, where's your hammer? The hammer is the Dragon Princes, so drop the Dragon Princes and get Phoenix Guard instead. That ain't bad. And the Swordmasters then become, or the Swordmasters are a hammer. So you basically have 2 hammers here. The Sea Guard are kind of an anvil, but they're not that. They're a toughness 3 light armor shield. So really, they just, you know. But you get a life wizard. That's the other great thing about High Elves. Their wizards can take any lore and High Elves. So you have lots of options. That is a huge bonus to High Elf armies. So we take a general. That's G. That guy is going to take. Oh, by the way, they have dragons. Not a huge fan of the High Elf dragon kit. It is nice. At least it's not the big S-shaped thing like they used to have. You know, the dragons were always like this. Every army had the same dragon. It was a big S shape. So kind of had any room. So it's like the tail, and then they'd curve up, and then you'd have. It was like, you know, a 3rd grader drawing a dragon. He had the big goofy legs down here, and his arms would come out like this. Aww. And so the new dragons are great. If you're going to go for something really nice, I would do a McFarlane dragon. Get on eBay, pick one. Those make great mounts. We do great conversions with those. They are pretty big though. Sometimes they do have to go in an oversized base. But get the new Dark Elf dragon and High Elfify it, which we could do as a conversion. So there's that. The ultimate, so General on a dragon is really great. He looks spiffy, but in the new, with everything kind of working together, what is he? Well, he's a hammer. Is he an expensive like hunter of things? I don't know. They're really the dragons are fantastic, and they look great. Same with the Griffin Rider. The Griffin Rider is just not. It's like his role on the battlefield really is a troublemaker. He goes up the flank and he kind of like kills stuff. He certainly can't take anything head on. But I don't know, smaller units. But 8th edition is really lending itself to consolidation right now. So either a unit either goes consolidated or it runs light. There's really no medium, and that's the problem with the Griffin Rider in Isle of Blood. But you know what I would do? I would green stuff over the saddle marks for the rider, and I'd make the Griffins into my eagles. And that saves you money, and they're really spectacular. And 98% of players will be like, oh, those are your giant eagles. Oh, okay, whatever. You know. So anyway, yeah, let's get rid of that dragon. So the new Dark Elf dragon would make a great dragon for a High Elf noble. So really easy as pie here. Your noble with magic items could run maybe 200. You get an Archmage, he's probably going to be up around 250. And you definitely need another wizard. A level 2, let's put him at 150. So as you can see, you really make up the. In Warhammer Fantasy, it's easy. Most armies I make, I'm like, whoa, that's 3,000 points already, you know. So, but if you want to scale it back to 1,500 or 2,000, all you got to do is just reduce these blocks down proportionally. Like take 20 Sea Guard, take 10 or 15 Sword Masters. So there you go. So this is about 2,500 points here. This is really a good sort of all-around High Elf army. If you want to go with something more extreme, then yeah, bust out the big blocks of the elite infantry, because those guys are absolutely fantastic. High Elf color schemes. Oh man, let's talk about that for a minute. Well, first off, you can go with the traditional stuff, which is blue and white, green and white. I've seen red and white. I've done ice-themed ones, and that's kind of like the cover. And you guys know I'm a fan of this this coloration here, kind of this pale Arctic blue color. But you got to have some kind of contrast. And we've also done like night sky High Elves, where we put on like this blackish sort of blue color, and but that was it wasn't like, oh, they're white and the color is kind of like a splash color. No, this was like, that was their color. We made their gems like basically like every army I've ever painted. The gems are kind of this glowy pale green, and I was a huge fan of that color scheme. We've done them obviously teal, purple, and gold with some white. Fan of that color scheme, obviously. You could do like red armor, like a dark, like maybe even burgundy would be really cool. What are the colors have I seen? So but you got to watch kind of a gold and silver. Like how do your metallics accent your main color? Red, because red and silver is like, okay, red is dark, silver is light, but that is not a good combination. For some reason, red and brass works, and I'm not sure why that is. And brass can be very, very pale, and so you're thinking like like a Cahorn color scheme on High Elves. All right, well that is your very long review of not a review of the High Elf, but how to put together a High Elf army, more or less how it plays. Really, you get your Sea Guard in the middle, and you get your elites. Probably 2 of them, some defensive units, or you could just go tons of archers, but I don't think that's that good. And we've already tried that. You guys remember my Rainforest Elves, and even the Elves, which are superior archers, they just that even like barely worked. So all right, well, hope you enjoyed and got something out of it. And as an afterthought, this is what we do here at Blue Table Painting. If you want to commission a High Elf army, you can download a spreadsheet. I'll put up the link for that. kind of just, what you do is once you have the spreadsheet in front of you, you just type in the quantities of each unit you want, and it'll tell you at the bottom how much will your models cost, how much will your painting cost, how much will your assembly cost. And we do turbo armies where you can just say, you know what, make me a high elf army. I don't like blue, but other than that, you just make it up for me. So we pick basing, color, and what's in it, but it's a flat fee for a certain amount of points. And pretty much we do follow this this formula for making those types of armies. So a la carte, or you can wait for, I think we still have one or two of them on the block right now. So by all means contact us. I do want to make a note about all the lots that we have. It is first come, first served, and you know, they usually go pretty fast. So it's like everything is limited time, limited quantity. But anyway, with commissioning a High Elf army, we're ready whenever you are. High Elves have really, this book has really stood the test of time for Warhammer Fantasy. They have a great feel about them. The models are spectacular. There's great conversion possibilities. Nothing but good things to say about High Elves. Of course.